Joins us this morning, Katrina Morris. How are you doing today? And thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And it's a great day to have National School Bus Safety Week kickoff.
Absolutely. And we see the buses already on the roads. I mean, they're actually returned to school in most cases at this time. But it is not only and I've learned over at least the past couple of weeks to inject that afternoon is as important as the morning. Those curricular activities, sports, and other events, the buses are on the roads. And so we really have to do better in most cases at being aware, making sure that we're following the bus safety rules. And with it being bus safety awareness week, right? Is that the kickoff today?
Yeah, it's National School Bus Safety Week, and that starts today. And it's put on by the National Association for Pupil Transportation. And I mean, obviously, every day should be National School Bus Safety Day because it's really about protecting our kids. But they do block this off for 1 week every year. And so this year, around Michigan, we were trying to figure out what we could do to kind of amplify this and get somebody to help us with this.
Mhm.
So we went to Roush Clean Tech, who has a race car team. And amazingly, we met with them on July 24th, and on September 10th, we filmed a PSA with RFK race car driver Ryan Preece to
Yeah.
express how important stopping in is for the red lights on the school bus.
And a lot of times when you have, a celebrity figure, somebody that is known, that helps kind of connect things too, or even raise the bar of awareness, doesn't it?
It does, and I will say from where I sit, to have someone like that be willing to lend us their voice to say, "Hey, even I have time to stop for the reds flash in the school bus." How amazing is that? And how big of an audience does race car driving have? So how many people will we be able to reach with this? And that's really ultimately what this comes down to, is we need to be able to reach those people to let them know.
And we're going to put that video up in the comment section on both of our Facebook pages and our YouTube channel too. But you were kind of you were the designer behind this, the idea center. Take us through the initial steps, how you pulled this out, and then we'll definitely take a majority of the time and talk about that bus
Mhm.
safety initiative. Would you do that for us?
Yeah. So I was sitting there one day trying to figure out who has a bigger voice than me, right? I mean, my voice can only go so far in the state of Michigan. And at the time, we had Brad Keselowski, who is a race car driver in the state of Michigan. So it was, hey, I wonder if somehow we could tap into him. And so this initiative started like 6 years ago. And then COVID hit and it kind of, waylaid. And then all of a sudden, like I said, we got in with Roush Clean Tech and RFK Racing. Keselowski is part of that. It's Roush Fenway Racing at Keselowski Racing. So it was just amazing to have that all come back full circle. And I will tell you, we had huge sponsorships, and they were from out of our state. So this actually initiative is going nationwide today, which is just absolutely amazing. It's nobody intends to go out and run a bus, a bus's red lights and purposely hit a child. But that's how we have to look at this. It's every time that you do this, you are endangering the life of a child. So please, take that extra second. So this, PSA commercial that we did, it was all about just bringing a different voice and a different way to wrap around it to be able to put it out to everyone.
Did you feel like I mean, there's so many questions I have in regards to this, but let's see if we can drill down in it. Did you feel like the ways that you were going about it, or and not
Mhm.
just you, but across the country, that it just wasn't
Mhm.
resonating with people? Is that part of it?
That's part of it. So it's, everybody is trying to get the laws a little tougher to, have fines bigger and everything. But if we don't educate the public, that's all for nothing.
Mm,
We're putting extra things on our buses to try and make it so that people see us better, or they're getting notified that, hey, there's a stop school bus ahead. But what are we doing to educate the public on those things that we're doing? And like I said, who has a bigger voice, than race car driving?
yeah.
And I'll give you just a sneak peek. We are looking at filming another one in May with a retired Detroit Lions player.
Cool. Awesome.
So, it's one of those things that whatever area I can tap into that we can get this message out, our hope is to save a child's life.
And what was the, for being a race car driver, that's pretty cool, obviously in itself. What was his side of the conversation with you like? What was his feedback? Or I would assume it wasn't just, okay, let's film this, get it done.
Mhm.
I'm sure there was some opinion there too,
Yeah.
right?
He had no idea, and that's the thing. He had no idea that thousands of children's lives are put at risk every day, hundreds of thousands, across the country. And as soon as you say that, he kind of looked at me and I said, "See, now I have your attention."
Mm.
That is what you lending your voice to us is going to help. So it was it was neat to see him in his environment. It was fun to be able to be there when they filmed this down in North Carolina. But I am just so thankful for all the sponsors and everything to be able to make this a reality.
And we did list those sponsors in our and on our Facebook page with this video because they deserve that attention as well because they're going to be able to push this PSA out more. They're going to be able to create more of an attention factor there.
Yeah.
'Cause, you and I chatted about this a couple of years ago, and one of the things, one of the parts of the conversation that really resonated is that no matter how many years go by, in 10 years from now, 15 years from
Mhm.
now, somebody, maybe not you and I, but others will continue to have this same conversation because every year it's important and every year there are incidents where kids get hit and kids get killed, right?
I would absolutely love to not have this conversation anymore. I mean, in all honesty, it is just heartbreaking, and I know from a driver, I sat in that driver's seat, and every once in a while, I still do, and to know that a car is passing, and it's just like, you just cringe, and it's like, "Don't let this happen." But, Chris, what's really bad is when a driver passes you on the from behind on the right-hand side.
Mm.
Cars are going in between, the mailbox and your bus where you're picking these kids up or letting them off too. It's not just coming from the front or just going around. They're doing this from all angles of the bus. And so, really, like I said, any place that I can tap into that has a huge following or has a huge voice, that's what we're going to do. We just have to start thinking outside of the box and how we're going to educate and how we're going to get to people.
And what does that rollout look like? Obviously, you're having conversations like with us here at the radio stations today, but what does the rest of the day look like? What does the
Mhm.
next few months look like?
So we have several interviews set up for today, all across the country. Like I said, NAPT, the National Association, NASDIPS, NSTA, Dean Transportation. I mean, all these different organizations have partnered with us. So they are all reaching out to their local radios and news stations as well as the newspapers. We also sent this to the Today Show and to Good Morning America in hopes that they will air this. So our hope is that, for the next 2 months while we have access to it, that we can just push this out in as many different areas that we can. We've asked school districts, please put this on your Facebook page, on your school district's homepage. So that way, when people get on there, that's the first thing they're going to see is school bus safety. Sometimes people just don't think, they don't realize what we're doing. And so this is just a reminder that we are there and we need to protect our kids.
And you didn't mention a level of urgency in the message just a moment ago that you have a window of time
Yeah.
because there's kind of a rights window that you can
Yep.
use this, which
Mhm.
kind of makes sense. I mean, when
Mhm.
you start moving up to into the celebrity range or the NASCAR itself and such, describe that. Take us through
Mhm.
that and the level of urgency that there is.
Yeah, so we all released it today, so nobody could release it before today. And then we have until December 31st to really utilize and push this out as much as what we can to as many people as what we can to get this message out there. And then after that, we can't use it anymore.
Mm.
So it's one of those things, it's NIL, the name, image, and likeness. When you get into, like you said, with these celebrities and different people, we have to abide by that. We don't have the luxury of just running it forever and using it again next year, without there being fees and everything else attached to it.
But the nice thing is that you're already, reaching out to others to kind of
Mhm.
keep and that baton going, that effort
Yeah.
continuing. We'll come back to this at the end of the segment, just as a reminder for the listeners and viewers this morning. But again, we're talking with Katrina Morris, and you are the executive director of MAPT, which is what, for those that are listening and viewing, kind of describe that a little bit for us, if you don't mind.
That is the Michigan Association for Pupil Transportation, and we deal with everything black and yellow. So what we do is we are out there teaching, what the rules and laws are of the road. We teach brand new supervisors. We teach courses in other areas on what you need to do. We are also out there fighting for laws. What we need to do to protect our kids, if it's a good thing, if it's a bad thing. So we are active in Lansing. And then we're giving back to our members, because it is a membership. So, we're going and training their drivers for free. It's like, here's what we can do for you. But at the same point, these are also other areas like doing these PSAs that we are doing in conjunction with our membership as well as the other sponsors to say, this is how we want to move forward. And this is how we want to get this information out there to people.
You mentioned the laws, particularly here in Michigan. Do you feel like, and not to dive into any sort of political side of things, but from the laws that are in place, are we in a good spot? Is there more work to be done?
So I think we are. I worked very closely with law enforcement here and across the state, but really here in Mason County, and we passed some really good laws. There was 4 of them in particular back in 2021, and that's allowing the cameras, the school bus cameras on the side of the stop arms, to be able to issue citations, to turn that over to law enforcement, and they can issue a citation if they feel that that is warranted. So, for that part of it, it is good. Obviously, the fine is up to $500. So if you run our red lights, you could be fined up to $500, which is a pretty hefty fine.
Yeah.
I would like it to have been a solid $500, but there's also that part from the law enforcement that they have to be able to determine, and the prosecuting attorneys have to be able to determine that part. So we understand that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What you mentioned and I've seen the videos and they're horrible to look at, where we see people pass,
Mhm.
on the side of the road, and it's just shocking because kids are steps away from being.
Mhm.
Um, are the buses able to capture that? Is that where other motorists are helping with those efforts? What's that like?
So, some districts have the stop arm cameras out now that will record those things for us, and that is a huge help. Otherwise, I will tell you before that, and for districts that still don't have that, yeah, we rely on the community. We rely on other kids that are on the bus that are like, hey, and they'll, jot down the license plate number and stuff like that. So,
Yep.
it is a full team effort in order to keep these kids safe. And
Mm,
a lot of times it's neat to see that the kids are taking part of that too,
yeah.
that they're on that bus saying, hey, they're not going to stop. Or it's the parent that's out there saying, hey, you have to stop. So then they're grabbing information for us.
Do you see that? Because some people will say, well, that's just big city issues and all of that. That's not the case, is it?
No, absolutely not. This happens everywhere across the country. Rural, I think, rural, just because you're alone out there, and people think, hey, I don't have to stop because I know that you're picking up on the door side. So I'm just going to go around. But the problem is that you never know what that child is going to do. They're so unpredictable. If the wind catches something or if they run after something, you just have to stop.
Absolutely. What can is there anything else that you want to make aware for those that are listening and viewing this morning? I mean, this obviously with National Bus Safety, it is, and you brought up a very good point, which is it doesn't take a week to make sure that you are kind of checking your driving, making sure, and especially when we get new kiddos on the roads and when
Mhm.
school back gets back into session as it does already here in the fall, what are those messages that are so important to you?
So I would say there is 20 or 200 feet before we get to a stop, we have to activate our amber lights. So you know that that bus is going to be slowing down when they have their amber lights on. Then the minute that we secure that bus and open that door, that's when the red lights come on. Please be 20 to 25 feet away from that bus in both directions, whether behind or in front. The biggest thing that everybody always asks is, we have the 5 lane out here. Do all lanes have to stop? Yes.
Mhm.
All lanes have to stop on a 5 lane unless you're on like a boulevard where there's grass in the middle.
Okay.
Then you don't have to. But otherwise, yes. And if you have your caution, if there are some hazard lights, just please proceed with caution.
Mhm.
But please stop looking at it as you're running my bus's red lights. Please look at it as you possibly couldn't be endangering a child's life. And that's where we really need to get people to be. And
You
I
know,
will
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I will tell you, Chris, I cannot say enough about our law enforcement in our area because it's also Operation Safe Stop that runs in conjunction with this week as well. And they will be extra law enforcement are out on the roads looking to help our buses, to make sure that we don't have this. But without our law enforcement in our area on board and understanding all this, it's just such a great partnership to have.
And I think as we have this conversation, it was very different. I guess I'll say it this way: in Grand Rapids, here we had buses down major artery that just put their yellows on
Mhm.
their ambers. And so I remember, and this happened twice, and I was like, okay, I'm waiting for the reds to come on. And in that particular case, it didn't. They were on the side of the road, and they were kids were getting on and off the bus.
Mhm.
They're off the bus, but they only had their yellows on.
Yep.
But because we have these conversations, I slowed down to ready to stop. And I think even if those yellows are on as motorists, and the reds never came on because it was just there were so many frequent stops, I think,
Mhm.
or that's how and different cities, different towns, work differently, of course. But we have to, as motorists, just proactively say, hey, we shouldn't wait for just the reds. We have to look out for the kids. And you mentioned that a moment ago, but it was definitely different, but
Mhm.
it's sort of the mindset we have to be in is not necessarily, the yellows and the reds, but the overall safety, no matter the conditions too, if it's snow
Yeah.
or if it's rain or anything else. Is that fair?
It is. So, there is a thing for our hazard lights that you can have a hazard light stop if you are only getting kids that are on that side of the road, and you can get either off of the road completely or traffic can go around you unobstructedly. And I
Okay.
will tell you, in a lot of cases, that's safer because we're not stopping traffic, so bus traffic still able to flow, but we've got the kids secure. But there are other areas and other times where that's just not an option, whether it's a child that is young or that potentially has could run.
Mhm.
You want to make sure that some of those stops have red lights. So it does depend on the stop. And I will tell you that all of those caution stops have to be approved prior by the administrator. And different districts use them more often than others. So, yeah, down in Grand Rapids, because I used to drive down there,
Yeah.
it is different,
Yeah.
than up here. But up here, we're a little rural and we're a little further spread out. So,
Absolutely.
mhm,
And that brings up, one of my last questions from the bus driver perspective.
mhm,
We're always looking for bus drivers. There's always new bus drivers coming on, but they're so dedicated, and sometimes we don't give them enough attention, enough support in the sense. And hopefully, they see this overall initiative with
Mhm.
NASCAR and the race cars, and looking at it as a national. That's kind of birthright from Mason County. I think that's pretty amazing in itself. And what's the bus driver's perspective or their conversations been like this year?
So, with respects to this commercial, they are absolutely ecstatic. They're
Mm,
like, somebody else listen to us.
yeah.
Somebody gets it. Somebody is understanding what we are going through and they're giving us their voice. It has been absolutely phenomenal to see all the drivers' reactions. And I've shown it to a few different places, kind of the sneak peek before reveal today across the state. And it has just been great. Our drivers are, like you said, they're so dedicated. These are their kids when they're in their possession. They want just the best for them. They want the safest ride for them. And, so to have this be out to the community, to have people like you being willing to put this on the air to say, hey, you guys have to remember it's School Bus Safety Week. You have to slow down around the buses, and this is what we need to do. I'll tell you, they have a thankless job,
Mm,
but this is a huge boost for them and a huge thank you to them. And it's kind of reassuring that hey, our jobs are important. We have the most safety sensitive position in the whole district,
mhm.
and we do it almost flawlessly. So thank you for doing this for them because they really truly are the heroes out there on the road.
Absolutely. They're incredible. And we do get feedback from them. We do the
Mhm,
birthday club in the morning, and we have the song for the birthday club, and
mhm.
we have bus drivers that will message us and say the students on the bus are singing along with the
Yep.
song. And
Mhm.
the last day of school we play Schools Out for
Yep.
Summer. And it is that connection.
Mhm.
It's that safety that goes into place. It's that
Yep.
energy. It's the bus driver that you remember the rest of your life,
Yep.
because that's who keeps you safe in the morning and in the afternoon as well.
Mhm.
So we do want to salute them and give them that attention. Katrina, let's wrap up by just going down, the nuts and bolts of this. Take us through this initiative one more time for those that might have missed it, and what's the next steps that we can do.
So again, it's National School Bus Safety Week. Please, you guys, please remember every day we should be stopping for the school bus lights and in using any caution if you see a yellow light on. In this initiative that we started with NASCAR driver Ryan Preece, we are just so excited that they partnered with us and saw the big picture in this to help us save a child's life by lending us their voice. And going forward, we have until the end of December 31st, to use this video and really push it out to get to as many people as we can to hopefully protect as many children as what we can. And then moving forward, we're not done. We're going to continue to push that envelope and think outside that box. So next is Detroit Lions. So a retired player from there, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that one as well. So we're just excited, and thank you for everybody for sharing this and helping us all. It takes a huge community to protect our kids. So thank you, Chris, for doing this.
Oh, glad to be a part of it, and count us in to continue to help you with these efforts on every step that, and hopefully this is just an ongoing part of your efforts, and you can count on us to help out along the way. So,
Thanks.
Katrina, thanks for joining us this morning, and let's connect here in the near future. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris.
You're welcome. It is 102.7 Mama FM and Hot Country Hits 99.9. And as always, if you missed any part of the segment, you can watch it in its entirety right there at our Facebook pages, WMOM and Hot Country Hits, and our